Today we have stories about the changes in Marauder Time,
football, and a wilderness adventure, all coming up right here on MOB.
Welcome back, Marcus. I'm Sarah Underwood.
And I'm Olivia Smiley. Students chose at the beginning of the year whether they wanted to attend virtual or in-person classes. We asked them how both are going. Because of the pandemic, this was the first year that students could choose whether they went to school in person or at home. Jalen Dennis tells us why he chose virtual.
Maybe I should just switch to virtual school for now and we'll see how it plays out. And then if I feel safe in January, maybe I'll go back to, in-person school. But I just wanted to feel safe.
Theater teacher Taylor Mudd shared some of the struggles of being at home.
It's difficult to make a schedule because we're used to being in school, having a bell dismiss us to go to the next class. Whereas online, you kind of have to make your own schedule, especially when we have synchronous days and asynchronous days. Even when you don't see your teacher, you're still expected to work. And so that gets a little difficult.
Just hard to stay on top of everything, make sure you're doing everything on time, and make sure you're giving the same amount of effort you would if you were actually in person. Because I feel like sometimes I give a little less effort than if I were actually be going to school.
Sophia Stafford decided on in-person school mainly for social reasons.
I would say my friends, because I am very social and I did feel isolated just being on my iPad. So it's nice to have those connections with other people.
Stafford says she's going to stay in person for the next 9 weeks.
I do miss being able to sleep in. That was nice. But it's a lot easier just to do a normal routine.
I think it's going to depend on the student. Some people are really thriving in our virtual world, and that is just how they learn, and they are great. And some students might just need that friend 6 feet next to them. So it really depends on what is beneficial for you.
This has been Olivia Smiley reporting for MOB. Students will get to choose again at the end of the 9 weeks, whether they want virtual or in-person classes.
I'm sure you've noticed that this year, Marauder Time is every day during the beginning of your second period class. Pooja went to find out what we'll be doing during that time.
Marauder Time is usually a time to learn about social and emotional health, suicide prevention, and more. It is also a time to get your homework done and relax. This year, Marauder Time is looking a little different. The assistant principal, Mr. Smith, explains what Marauder Time will look like this year.
A time dedicated every day to where kids could go in and have no demands placed on them, and that they could just relax, breathe a little bit, and maybe just kind of have a little bit of a reset.
The student assistant counselor, Mrs. Schwoller, explains how Marauder Time will be helpful this year.
To provide the additional support that students need right now, whether it be social emotional support or college planning support, study support.
A senior here at Marcus High School, Elizabeth Kim, tells us how she feels about Marauder Time.
It's kind of nice because it gives me time to prepare for the class, and if I have any homework, it lets me work on that.
Mrs. Schwoller describes what activities will take place during Marauder Time, including 2 new programs that will be used this year, Rhythm and Everfi.
We're pretty excited about that because it's just a simple mental health check-in. You'll go on and you can just, however you're feeling that day, you put it in, and then it'll give you back a 90-second kind of breathing exercise or meditation or mindfulness. So you'll go to the program through LHub. You'll go on your iPad as a student, log into Everfi, and the lesson is just very interactive.
Even though Marauder Time is looking a little different this year, the teachers and staff are trying to make it as helpful as possible. This has been Pooja Kantheti reporting for MOB.
I bet students will enjoy those extra study hall days. A time to relax is just what we need this year.
Isn't it crazy how long quarantine has been?
Yeah, it's crazy how I'm so used to everything now, social distancing, wearing masks. I started washing my hands and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, did you say you started washing your hands?
Yeah, obviously I started washing my hands. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Are you saying you didn't start washing your hands before COVID?
Before COVID? Did we social distance before COVID? Did we wear masks before COVID? No.
What did you do after you went to the bathroom?
Oh, just like a quick rinse like everyone else.
No, everyone has to wash their hands thoroughly.
I know everyone has to wash their hands thoroughly. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Duh.
Cross country has been through a lot of changes. With the loss of Coach Telanius, new head coach Andy Reinberg is now stepping into his shoes.
Coach Andy Reinberg has recently taken over as cross-country head coach after the passing of longtime coach Steve Telanius in the spring. Losing Telanius has been difficult for Reinberg, but he is thankful he was able to coach by his side for the past 4 years.
Devastating, because he not only was a good friend, he was like a father figure to me, so it was pretty hard to hear the loss.
Coach T has taught many life lessons throughout his years of working at Marcus.
I would get too comfortable in my races and in training, and he taught me to push past that and run to the best of my ability.
While they're still adjusting of Coach T not being there this year, they're excited about the new season.
I think it's going to be really good. We're coming back strong after everything, and we have been working really hard. We have that legacy to continue.
Reinberg explains his goals for the new season now being head cross-country coach.
Get to the championships side of season, obviously we've got to work through if UIL has made some adjustments, and it's going to be a lot more challenging to get out, but I have complete faith that we have the athletes and the team to do it.
Reinberg always wants to keep the principle of Coach T saying, "We win with humility and we lose with character." This has been Claire Askew reporting for MLB.
The Coach T Invitational will be at North Lake Park in Denton on October 10th.
On this next story, we sent our very own wildlife expert, Andrew, in the wilderness, out to the lake to find some valuables.
Here I am on the water in the deep Highland Village territories. Last time on MLB in the Wilderness, I tried to seduce a turkey, but after failure with that, I've decided to move on to more stationary objects. That's why we're looking for treasure here in the middle of nowhere. There isn't a water tower or buoy for miles. Let's get looking. Now, one of the most important things that is absolutely mandatory you must have on the lake is your life jacket. You're basically putting yourself in harm's way if you even so much as unbuckle part of the life jacket. Well, in looking for valuables, I lost my snorkel and hat, the only two things of value I really had on me. I still have my jacket, but let's be real, what's there either? Let's go hunt for the things we lost. Well, I may have lost my dignity, but at least I found the hat. Now I think it's time to go into the lake, this time with the paddleboard. Welcome to the very surface of the lake. This is the most intimate and closest we can be with the water without actually being in it. As you can see, I'm on my paddleboard. I'm very good at it. Now, as you get more and more advanced on the paddleboard, you start being able to do some quicks, like the quick 180. The 180. You're watching Dude Perfect. Now we're surfing. Look at these crazy waves. My cameraman, clearly very incompetent, just fell off his board. I would never do. Well, we had a fun adventure at the lake, searching for treasure, but at the end of the day, didn't really find anything. There are still many unanswered questions. Is there valuable stuff at the bottom of the lake? Was I able to hold in my bladder while swimming? The answer to both is definitely no. For MLB in the Wilderness, this is Andrew White, signing off.
I'm starting to think Andrew in the Wilderness is just Andrew White with a hat and a bad accent.
It's impossible to say. Volleyball teams across the Metroplex have missed games because of the coronavirus. In fact, Hebron's team had to cancel their games for 2 weeks. Up next is how our volleyball team is handling the virus.
UIL guidelines have given sports teams the opportunity for players to choose whether or not to wear masks during games. The volleyball team had their own choice to make.
And so when season started, then that's kind of when the rule changed to masked or unmasked. And so kind of talked with the girls at our first scrimmage, and I told them, like, I'm not going to require y'all to wear those during games if you don't want to. And they made the decision on their own to keep them on just to be as safe as possible and be able to beat people because we're better, not necessarily because, you know, half of their team is out being quarantined.
Although playing in a mask can be more difficult for her, Paige Hartsburg prioritized the health of her team.
We chose to do masks because if we do it during practice but not in a game, if one of us gets it, we all 14 of us have to quarantine. But if just one of us gets it and we're wearing a mask, just the one person has to quarantine. We personally prefer that the other team wears masks, but we can't make them. So it does make us a lot more uncomfortable because then if they get it, we'd have to quarantine as well.
Even with many changes, their goals stayed the same.
First practice, they came in and they just wanted to play and at a high level and be competitive and have fun and want to win. They all want to win. They want to do whatever they need to beat, you know, their opponent. They're super competitive, and that has not changed. Every day they come in, they want to compete no matter what. And so that's kind of been the thing that's driving us all.
So with the mask or with not, I feel like we're all still playing the same and like performing together as a team.
This has been Sarah Mackey reporting for MLB.
Volleyball games are every Tuesday and Saturday, and tickets can be bought online. The football team started their season against Dallas Jesuit on Friday, September 25th, but like all sports this year, football looks a bit different.
If you've gone to a football game this season, you know the Marauders have been winning. In fact, they beat McKinney 27-10 in their last game. But you've also seen the changes because of COVID. This year, precautions have to be taken to ensure a safe season. Coach Eli Rodriguez said that in practices, the team had worn masks and worked out in small groups.
You know, anything did happen or occur, you know, it was to a small group of athletes.
Social distancing guidelines have affected both players and spectators.
I think the most challenging thing is going to be for the spectators, the ones that were allowed on the sideline. They're not going to allow that anymore. They're going to have to stay in the stands. You know, it's limited seating, so I think most of the stress is going to be on the players and those sidelines.
Both on and off the field, being cautious is a team effort. Varsity quarterback Garrett Nussmeier says that players are wearing masks on the sidelines.
You know, I think if everybody does their part and is smart and, you know, stays away from parties and big groupings and things like that, we get to finish our season. You know, I know we got to do our part, you know, especially well, following the rules, masked up, social distance. And at the end of the day, we just got to play football. I'm very, very hopeful, you know, that it won't really affect us, you know, more than it does now. And, you know, in fact, things will only get better.
This is Reese Rome reporting for MOB.
The Marauders' next game is at Keller Central at 7 p.m. on October 8th. That's it for today, Marcus. Thanks for watching. I'm Olivia Smiley.
And I'm Sarah Underwood. Make sure to mask up and have a great day, Marcus.
Mask up, Marauders. Mask up, Marauders.
Mask up, Marauders.
Mask up, Marauders.
Masks up, Marauders.
Mask up, Marauders. Mask up, Marauders.
Masks up, Marauders.
Masks up, Marauders.